Hello, everybody. I'm so excited today. We have Kathy Hill with us, and she is joining us virtually with some wonderful information. I connected with Kathy when we were at Las Vegas. We were at a conference, and we kind of just started talking and kind of hit it right off the bat, enjoying each other's company so much. Kathy, you're such a special lady. She has a background of so much greatness. You guys are going to want to hear what she has to say. And her passion is just sharing these ideas with you guys. And it looks like we have Alicia joining from Tennessee, Enid, which Enid's on a lot of recalls, Letitia from Portland. Letitia, I want to know if you're going to be at the OSLP Just Be You Awards Banquet, because that is coming up in November. I'll be there. If so, I hope to see you. So basically, for those of you guys who are new to this platform, I just want to say that I want to welcome you. We're streaming live on 3 platforms on our Crackcast, where you are here, on Facebook, on our ProCare Health channel. And then we're also streaming live now through Berry Nation. Do we have any Berry Nation peoples? Kathy's a Berry Nation person. Berry Nation is a community, guys, and ProCare is sponsoring them. So we've started going live from there. It looks like we do. We have all kinds of people commenting. So that's wonderful. We have lots of Berry Nation people. Stephanie, Letitia. She said she'll be there. She'll be at the Just Be You Award show. Laura's from Missouri. That's where I'm from. Kathy, where are you from?
Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska.
Okay. I wonder if we have anybody that's from Florida on this call yet, because I have been watching. It looks like it's going to be kind of tragic down there, like weather.
I used to be from Florida. We were there when Irma hit, and I have a granddaughter down there. We chatted yesterday. So hurricanes are very fickle.
Yeah, you just never know. Well, I want to kind of just say, guys, so this topic kind of near and dear to my heart, because I am very, very interested in doing anything that you can do naturally. I feel like our bodies have this healing mechanism. We're born with it. We're born with this way of connecting to everything that is, all that is, and being able to become more of ourselves and to shred some of the, I don't know, I guess anxiety, some of the fear, some of the other things that kind of come along with our everyday lives, of living. We're subjected to so much information out there, information overload. And I think this concept that Kathy's going to be talking about today is called earthing. And without going in a whole lot of depth, because I'm going to let Kathy talk about what she's going to be talking about and kind of tell a little bit about herself. For one thing, she's Kathy, you're a nurse, correct? No, I was thinking you were. Your background.
I've just been married to a physician for 47 years, and he started medical school after we were married. So I've been on the ride, but don't have the degree.
I was going to say you're basically a doctor. Basically. When you're around somebody 24/7, and you experience a lot with them, I'm sure. What kind of doctor is your husband?
Anesthesiologist, so he has been involved in weight loss surgeries.
Oh, that's interesting. You have to. I don't know if there's anything you ever want to share with that during this conversation. Please feel free to too. It looks like we also have, Enid's from Oklahoma. Denise is from Indianapolis. So I'm going to just kind of start right there, stop with the introductions. Please continue, guys. If you're joining on Facebook too, I know we have people joining on Facebook. Please let us know where you're from as well. And so with that, we're going to just get started, and I'm going to let Kathy introduce herself and what she does and this miraculous topic.
Well, welcome everybody. I'm going to open my little PowerPoint here so you can all see the good stuff I found to share with you today. So my name is Kathy Hill. I am a certified life and health coach. I am also a weight loss surgery patient, which we'll get into that a little bit as I start my story. But I'm so grateful to be here and that Brenda invited me to come. One of the first things I want to share with you is that there is a handout that I did prepare and shared, and you should be able to find it in the library. There was also a box you could click on the screen for that, and so hopefully you can access that. It has my references, it has the supplement material that I want you to take note of so that you can access that later if this is of interest to you. I'm not going to share a lot of that information today because there's too much other stuff I want to talk about. So I want to start with a little disclosure. I have no affiliation or connection to ProCare Now, Crowdcast, or Berry Nation professionally. I am an independent certified life and health coach. I do have a subspecialty in working with, I am so sorry, chronic obesity and bariatric surgery patients. And I was afraid this was going to happen. We have a dry spell going on. So Brenda, if you want to talk, I'm going to grab a glass of water. 1 minute.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's great. So Kathy, as Kathy mentioned before, she does work with bariatric surgery patients. She is a bariatric surgery patient herself. She is going to be sharing more about that story. And really, guys, for those of you who are joining us, I feel like there's so many different tools out there. Like, why not explore the things that we're normally used to exploring, but also kind of look at those things that maybe are maybe new to us. And for me, sometimes I know for my own self, I'm just going to kind of just share one thing about myself, Kathy, while you're kind of
Absolutely
getting some water. So one thing that maybe you guys know or don't know about me. So I'm a nurse also as well. And I worked in the hospital setting for a lot of years, probably about 30 years or more. I'm 53, most of my life until I came to ProCare. But what I got to say is I found that I worked in emergency services. I worked in an emergency room, several of them, trauma center, chest pain centers for about 20 years. And it actually led me into the holistic integrative medicine background because what I found is that towards the end of that part of my career, I found that I was getting like overly stressed, overly emotional. When you're in that fight or flight mode and your adrenaline is up in the air all the time and you're on these swerves. For me, I'm a very emotional. I shouldn't say all of us have emotions and we listen to our emotions, but for me, I'm a sensitive type person and I would pick up on other people's emotions. So somebody's coming in with a heart attack, I could actually feel their pain. I know that sounds really silly. Come in with somebody who had their arm cut off or somebody gunshot wound, or you have somebody who just lost a baby. I actually would feel the emotions of the other person, and not knowing that that's what I was doing, I would consider they were my emotions, which they were because I was feeling them. And I was kind of spiraling into this kind of, I think that's part of where I gained a lot of weight. I also had weight loss surgery back in 2013. But what I found is, that being around that kind of environment, I had to learn how to adjust my own emotions and kind of like listen. Because I mean, when you're sensitive, it's a way to be very compassionate to other people and understanding. You understand what they're going through. But I also had to realize they weren't my emotions. And I had to find a way to kind of separate from that a little bit. I started diving into integrative health to help me with that and help me with my weight issues. And I became a certified healing touch practitioner, probably about 10 years ago, and have do that kind of on the side because I just find that when people are in a really emotional crisis, physical crisis, there's more to what you can do than just general medicine. Weight loss surgery, I have to say, weight loss surgery is an amazing tool, like amazing, and not discounting Western medicine. Sometimes I think when I first started my journey of integrated medicine, I found I was shutting myself off from Western medicine. I was like closing that door and opening a new door. But now I just try to bridge them because there's so many good aspects of both. So Kathy, go ahead. I don't know if you're refreshed now.
I am great. Thank you. I also wanted to let you all know, and I hope you can see this. One of the best references for earthing is a book that has been printed just about this. It's pretty much interesting. The gentleman who started all this, his name is Clinton Ober. And this book was done with Stephen Sinatra, MD, and Martin Zucker. On the disclosure page, I also want to let you know that I have no connection or affiliation with these authors or the book. And this is just me presenting for you today. So I wanted to make sure we did that. So I'll introduce myself a little bit, talking about my journey. These are 4 pictures of me from different points in my life. The first one, obviously, was how things started. The children like to say, "Mom, you were such a cute baby. What happened?" I remind them that they'll get old too.
Hey,
and
Kathy, it's not.
All.
It's not sharing that slide.
Oh dear. Let me stop sharing and see if we can get back to it.
It's sharing it was sharing your PowerPoint, but I could not see the slide you were talking about.
It didn't advance to the one that says my journey.
Let's try it again.
Let's try it again. Okay, sorry. Let me get back to where we were here and share again and see.
You gotta love technology, right?
Don't ya? Let's just see if it'll go again. Oh, it really went farther than we wanted it to. Let's see.
There you go.
Now, are you seeing the one that says my journey?
Yes. We can.
Alrighty. So the first picture is kind of how things started. Again, my kids say, "Mom, you're so cute. What happened?" And we just kind of laugh and move along. The second picture is me at the end of high school. The third picture is me probably a couple decades after my 4 children had been born and just life taking its course. And the bottom right picture is me pretty much today, as things go. I grew up on a small farm in northeastern Colorado, 3 brothers, no sisters. So I was the 4th boy. Actually, I was number 2. There are a lot of genetic factors in my family with regard to overweight, being a large-bodied person. Many of us in my family are. Quite a few are not. It's really kind of amazing. Over the course of my adult life, we have lived all different kinds of places. As I said, my husband is a physician. We were married with 2 children when he started medical school. And we've been married for 47 years. So we've been at this for a little while. Over those 47 years, besides having my 4 kids, I have had to advocate for my own health issues. I have had multiple orthopedic procedures done. I was very much an athlete when I was young and just didn't know how to condition bodies back then. And so it has taken its toll. I've had some GYN issues. I've had some endocrine issues. I've had breast cancer. And I, along with many of you in battling my chronic obesity, have been through metabolic syndrome, type 2 diabetes, dyslipidemia, elevated triglycerides, hypertension, acid reflux, partial thyroidectomy for benign growths, intolerances to medications. I've kind of been there with you. I appreciate and understand the journey that you're on, as it has been my journey. I got to a point where my highest weight was about 140 pounds over what would be normally ideal for most height and weight charts. At that point, I was living in Florida, and I was not doing gardening. I am an avid gardener. A farm kid in me just has to dig in the dirt. And I wasn't able to do that for a couple of reasons. And my physical activity and movement was just really, really inhibited because of my health and where I was. I did not go looking for gastric bypass surgery, but it was put in my radar screen 5 different times. I'm a person of faith. And so I finally Said, okay, what is it you want me to know? My husband, as an anesthesiologist, has participated in weight loss surgeries professionally. We were always of the mindset that you do that just before you die to keep you from dying. I learned that much has happened. As Brenda said, it is a wonderful tool. I had the Roux-en-Y gastric bypass surgery in February of 2019. I know that my journey with surgery was unlike many others. I felt that I did much better with this than I would have ever anticipated. I lost 90 pounds in 5 months. I went back to gardening. I moved back to Nebraska. I got back to being active. As with many of you that have had surgery sometime in the past, I have had to face the regain. I've put on about 15 pounds of regain that has kind of crept on here and there. Currently, I am at a stable weight. I have been at a stable weight for about 6 months. I am off all prescription medications, and all my previous comorbidities have resolved and are controlled, and have been for the 3.5 years since my surgery. So just a little bit about me. And I have become a certified life and health coach with a passion, as Brenda said, to just share with others. I understand your frustrations and your hopelessness and your despair, trying to advocate for better health, and I want to help with that. So hopefully what we talk about today will make a difference. You'll see here a list of pre- and post-operative scenarios that weight loss patients generally bump into. And this is not an exhaustive list by any stretch of the imagination. There are certainly other things I could have put here. But when I talk with individuals, this is the stuff that comes up the most often.
Hey, Kathy.
Yes.
It did not show your next slide yet.
Holy cow. Are we going to have to do this, everyone? I hope not. So you're still on the My Journey, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Did it change?
Not yet.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to, this is going to be a little bit frustrating. I guess we're going to have to just see how we can make this happen.
I have no idea why it's being, you know what, I'm still amazed every time I have a guest, there's different things. So I wish I could be there with you, holding your hand. This platform is a little different than Zoom.
If you want to pull up that, and we'll just let you you just show it.
Oh,
and I'll
sure.
Just
Absolutely. I can do that.
Apparently it's not going to let me share the way we want it to.
Okay. So Kathy, let's see.
You saw the concerns, and I'll just talk about those while Brenda's pulling this up. So as bariatric surgery or weight loss surgery patients, we chose this route because we had all these concerns, or at least some of them, a vast majority of them, and we were unsuccessful trying to be more healthy. And so we used this option as our route to see if we could have a positive outcome. But these concerns are very real. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. They are, and we're going to have the post-op concerns come up in just a second. I need to say at this juncture, and I shared with my husband about my husband's profession, because as the spouse of a healthcare professional, you know healthcare professionals, professionally, socially, that's part of the circles you travel in life. I had access to any and all care that I wanted, and I still had so much frustration with trying to advocate for my own health. And I need to say at this point, modern medicine does not have all the answers. As much as I and the rest of you would like that to be the case, it is not. I need to tell you that the vast, vast majority of physicians that I know personally want to help people. That's why they're in the profession. But they are not walking Wikipedias. So within their specialty, absolutely, they need to be up to date, on the thing, on the spot. But medicine is constantly changing. And so I would hope that you would understand that they are not going to have all the answers for you every day. And they may have to say, I don't know. And please give them the grace to do so. Let them be people too. Many times they go home at night and cry because they cannot help somebody. And I just need you to know that about them. But the vast majority of them do the very best they can with what they know and have access to. So where that leaves us with regard to our concerns is that we need to learn how to help them help us by being mindful, by becoming informed, by becoming an advocate for ourselves that's an effective and an efficient advocate. We need to learn how to discern what's going on with our bodies and what works and what does not. And then we need to share, and we need to understand that we are all different. So what might work for me might not work for you, and vice versa. And that's okay. So let's do the next slide, please, Brenda.
Okay.
So not only preoperatively do we have concerns, but we also have post-operative concerns and scenarios that are very real. You'll see these listed here. I think for me, in working with myself and the clients that I have, I think fear is the number one concern and scenario that we all have to deal with. Fear of the fact that we've never been to this place in our lives before. This is new. And that automatically puts us into sympathetic mode, fight, flight, or freeze. You just have to know that. Your body is designed, when you change anything from the status quo, to tell you, whoa, wait, go back. We could exist there. We don't know if we can exist here. Go back. This isn't good. Just know that's normal. It's not happy, but it's normal. We fear, what do I do next? We fear, what if this doesn't work? We fear, can I sustain this? And we fear, where can I go for help? I know that support resources vary vastly from surgical clinic to surgical clinic. I am very blessed. The surgical clinic that I used for my procedure has offered me support services for the rest of my life, and there is an expectation of how I will use those. And so I'm grateful for that. But there are many, many things that are concerns. The last one listed, I think, is really key that we remember. There are genetic influencers. You are exposed to certainly that we really can't do anything about. Medicine and science just doesn't have those answers yet. I know in my genetic testing, just a little interesting note that I learned, for those of you that know what HIIT training is, or high intensity training, my genetic code tells me that, that's not going to work so well for you. Now I try to tell my trainer that, and she just looks at me and smiles. She's wonderful, but I just need you to know that. So these things post-operatively, they can be similar to preoperative, but they can be very different post-operatively as well. So next slide.
Sure. And Kathy, you're going to see me pop on and off just a little bit because I wanted to just check comments. It looks like Enid says, congratulations on 47 years of marriage, which is exciting. And she says, it happens technically, is special. Exactly, Kathy. All of journeys are important. So I'll just pop back and forth on here real quickly just to kind of share and make sure. Obviously, you probably can see you can probably see them now because.
Why did you went? There you go. There you go. So I can. Yes, I can see the comments. So thank you. So there are solutions. The first thing I want to talk to you about, you can see these, and I'm not one to read slides. So I'm going to let you all read the slides. I want to say always, always, always in capitals, bold print, underlined italics, always follow the science and the long-term outcome protocols. Always find that. Always find that. Always look at that. Always give that credence and value. Tried and true. If it doesn't work for you specifically, okay, we move on to the next, but always go there. Use the resources that are available to you, professionals, online resources, and I will say at this juncture, online resources with some prudence and discretion. and then any new research or information that is out there. Be very careful about the voices that you resource, listen to, and follow. Not everybody out there has your best interest at heart. One of the areas that I have a little bit of concern about right now, there are several weight loss surgery Facebook groups that I follow. And one of the concerns I have is that patients are asking other patients for curated, proven information. Again, each of us is unique and different. I would say to you, first and foremost, it's always fun to talk to your friends, and it's always empowering to know that there are others there with you. But when it comes to your health care, please let those who are treating you be your first line of defense. Take what you see on social media carefully, just carefully. Another thing that I want to talk to you about, though, here for solutions, and Brenda started the conversation with this earlier about there are alternative protocols. Now, I will tell you that for most of my adult life, I was very much in the mindset of a typical person from the United States who does Western medicine mindset. Can't do it in the lab? Okay. But I have learned, I have taken the opportunity to learn, and I am much more open to alternative protocols. What we're talking about today would fall in that category for many, many people. But some people, looking at Zen, doing acupuncture or acupressure, tapping would be considered one of those by many who are in the Western mindset. Some of the Asian medical arts, those things have been around for eons, literally eons, and have provided benefit to individuals. So as you start looking at alternatives, be mindful, do your due diligence, be careful, take your time, don't expect immediate results. You didn't get to your current situation in one day, you're not going to change it in one day. So there are no quick fixes, and know that, but try to be a little more open. I have found that I needed to do that. And as my husband says, oh, you repented. And I said, yes, I did. So today we're going to talk about earthing. Did anybody have questions about what we've talked about so far? I'm not seeing any. Brenda, are you?
Okay. Well, I just switched screens, but
Yeah.
I didn't see any right before I did. So I think we're good.
Okay. So earthing, what is earthing? Some people call it grounding. Some people call it earthing. It just depends on which camp you're in, but it's all the same thing. And the easy definition is earthing is living in contact with the Earth's natural surface charge. And you'll see 3 different pictures here, but there's one thing that's common in each of these pictures. And that is you have skin not only in the game, but on the ground. And so you'll notice the gardeners aren't wearing gloves. There's no sandals or shoes on the person on the beach. And yeah, you'll see a sleeve, but the shoes are off in the middle picture. Next slide, please, Brenda. So we're going to talk about some science of earthing, and we're going to kind of run through this quickly. And I would say to you that if you need more in-depth on the science, go to the book I referenced that's on the bibliography of the handout that I provided for today. But as Brenda said, this planet is an absolutely incredible entity. We don't even know what we don't know about this planet. It's just so wonderful. But it produces an electromagnetic field. Now I'm going to share some information with you, and I want to get it correct, so I'm going to kind of just read it instead of paraphrasing it. This EMF that is created is a 6 sextillion. Think about that for a second. It's a big number. It's a 6 sextillion metric ton battery. That's what this field is. It's continually being replenished by solar radiation, lightning, and heat from the molten core of the planet. Now, this field has rhythmic pulsations, and they flow through and emanate from the surface level of the Earth. And they keep all of the biological machinery of global life running in rhythm and balance. Have you ever watched your pet, your dog, your cat, your hamster, whatever, when you let them outside, they run outside and they roll on the ground? It's because they feel the connection to the earth. We've talked ourselves out of that quite a bit. So we're gonna learn about that. So the surface of the earth is mostly negatively charged entity. And it is the most negatively charged, positive and negative. We're thinking about magnets here. You know how that works. It is the most negatively charged part of our surroundings as humans. Now, the air that's close to the surface of the earth has some insulating properties, and that makes the electrical current near the ground. Oh, we're still on that other one.
Sorry.
Very, very low and close to zero. And we call that level the potential. Okay, that's a term that you'll see when you start reading about this stuff. That level is called the potential. When you get up higher off the surface of the earth and all the way up to the ionosphere, the sun's rays actually take electrons away from the air molecules. And that generates ions. It's what's called the ionospheres, because that's where the ions are generated. And those are positively charged particles. So they've gone from pretty much towards negative, and the more they raise and get up there, then the electrons are pulled away and they become positive. Now, this is going to sound confusing, and I'm just going to encourage you to go read it on your own, because I don't have time to explain it all today because it would take too long. It's a semester course. So our atmosphere is not the best conductor, and it's not the best insulator. So things pass back and forth pretty regularly, sometimes better than others. It's just not as consistent as we might want. However, there is this really great thing that happens. When we have fair weather, those positively charged ions come back down towards the surface of the planet. And when we have bad weather, they get sent back up. Now you'd think, how do those get sent back up? It's actually lightning. You definitely, I think the majority of people would think lightning comes from the clouds to the earth. But this charge actually comes from the ground to the clouds. And so we have created a loop. Next slide, please. So when we come in contact with the surface of the earth, the sole of our feet, or what's called the plantar surface of your feet, is covered with over 1,300 nerve endings per square inch. That's the most found in any part of the body of this comparable size. Think about that. 1,300 nerve endings per square inch. If you look at the little graphic, if you can read it, it's pretty small. All your different body parts, some of you that might be into reflexology, they can attribute nerve endings to these body parts on your feet. The second highest area of your body is your palm of your hand. Now, I find that fascinating that the two things that would probably have the most contact to the surface of the earth have the most nerve endings to make that contact. Kind of interesting. Now, what happens with these nerve endings is when they touch the surface, they have the capacity to absorb these electrons that are there. And they work kind of like the roots of a plant extracting moisture out of the soil to get its nutrients. Very much similar process. So these electrons fluctuate at different frequencies. And these fluctuating frequencies reset when those electrons come into our body and travel where they need to go, which we'll talk about in a minute. They can reset our biological clock and provide electrical energy, equalizing and maintaining the body at the electrical potential of the earth. Now, I find that fascinating because the earth kind of does what it does. We lived in Alaska for a time, and the Valdez oil spill happened when we were there. And those of you that might be old enough to remember that will know that it was kind of a huge, big oil spill. And the projections were that it was going to decimate that area where the oil spill happened, and that for generations it would be horrible. Well, the truth of the matter is, within a year, the wildlife and the fish and the birds were back. And you could really not see any evidence of that oil spill. Now, yes, they did massive cleanup efforts, but they did not have the technology and the research to do that at the level that we saw. And having lived there during that time, it became very evident to all of us that the earth knows how to take care of itself and us. And so I just get really excited about this stuff. So when we connect and we get these electrons into our body and it does this reset, we are basically grounded. And if you think about an electrical system of any kind, you need grounding, or you get sparks and you get surges and you get all kinds of negative things going on. Well, that's what connecting to the ground does for us. Next slide. So when we talk about what electrical systems need, they need conductors, they need insulators, and they need semiconductors. And again, the semiconductors kind of fluctuate. Sometimes they'll conduct, sometimes they won't. There are things that are always conductors and they conduct well, and you'll see them listed here. I will just say to you, salt water is a better conductor than fresh water, but they both conduct well. Look at the insulators. Look at the things that insulate us. And then the semiconductors. And then each electrical system also needs a source of electricity and then a system to transmit or transfer it. Now, our body is made up mostly of water and minerals. So the tissues of our body are excellent conductors. Our cells can not only utilize this electrical energy from outside their cell wall, but they also have the capacity to generate certain kinds of electricity within them and send that out through the cell wall. So any substance that stops the flow of electrons from the Earth's surface to our bodies is an insulator. Now, I want you to look at those insulators for just a second, and I'm going to share a piece of information. There have been research studies done on something we're going to talk about next, which is inflammation and inflammatory processes in our body. And they have found a direct correlation to the development and the use of synthetic-soled shoes and the spike in inflammatory disease processes. So it's really important that you understand that our bodies are designed to use these electrons and this electrical magnetic field that the Earth generates. So next slide.
Kathy, before I do that, I'm going to stop sharing for just a tiny second here, and I just want to double check to make sure there's no comments on here.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any pull up on mine, but that doesn't mean there aren't.
Enid does say, I meant to say technology is special. Earthing is what I want to learn more of. And then on Facebook, I don't see anything quite yet. If anybody has any questions or comments, please feel free to post them, whatever forum you're on, and we will make sure and get to them. There's also an ask a question feature, which timestamps your question if you have to pop off for any reason. So I'm going to go ahead and go back. And we'll I'll kind of keep trying to kind of just toggle back and forth just to make sure we don't have more. Okay.
All righty. So when she pulls it up, the next one we're going to talk about is some body systems that use electricity, because somebody might say, well, do we really use that? Yes. And there are several. So I'm just going to define these for you really quickly so you understand. So some of you that have worked with meridians in your body before will know what those are, but there is a meridian system, which is interconnecting pathways linked to specific organs. And when we do earthing, these electrons from the Earth's surface enter our feet at, if you're into reflexology, at a K1 acupuncture point, which is just right near the ball of your foot, kind of in the middle of your foot, close to there. And then from that point, they travel upward and they go to the kidney meridian, and then they are distributed to all the other meridians and then throughout the entire body. So this meridian system is literally a transportation system for a lot of things. We also have sweat glands, and there's a whole system of those. And we have eccrine and apocrine glands, and they have a different function. The eccrine glands, we find them mostly in your feet and your hands. Isn't that interesting? And on your forehead. And they mostly produce the sweat, the moisture. It's also interesting to know that those glands are interwoven with your capillaries. So you would understand then that this is mostly to help regulate body heat. The apocrine glands secrete substances that cause the foul smell or the body smell or the whatever you want to call that. And they work together in tandem. We also have our circulatory system, which is our bloodstream. And one of the really interesting things that you probably won't run into very often if you read about this, that this earthing does and that the electrons help with, is what's called a red blood cell Zeta potential. What this does is they've actually monitored blood cell movement within the vessels. And when you've done the earthing, they'll do a scan before, they'll do an earthing session, and then they'll do a scan after. And the blood cells have actually come away from each other. If they've clumped, they've started to separate from each other, and the blood flows much more freely through your vessels. That's one of the things they've actually documented happens. So that really helps. There's another function of the electrons with your vasculature, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Then we have the living matrix. This is connective tissue and filaments inside and outside of the cells that provide systemic informational and energetic connections. So it's the way the cells can talk to each other in the other parts of the body, saying, hey, we just did this, you need to come do this, or saying, hey, we need this, we send whatever. This living matrix may also be, there's research into this, and they're not quite yet ready to say absolutely unequivocally, but they think it might provide a storage space for extra electrons that aren't being utilized specifically. So it might be kind of like our fat cells, you know, that's fat that we took in that we're not needing right now, so it stores. So it's kind of like that. Then we have the autonomic nervous system, and that's part of your overall nervous system, and it regulates heart and respiration rates, digestion, perspiration, urination, sexual arousal, all of those things. And this ANS goes everywhere in your body. It's everywhere in your body. Now, one of the fun things to think about, if these electrons that we have absorbed can be transported with nerve impulses directly from your autonomic nervous system to your central nervous system, then these electrons can be redirected anywhere in your body at the speed of the nerve impulses, which is, by the way, 10 to 100 meters per second. And just a quick reference, a meter is just over 3 feet. So you think about how fast that is to get it to anywhere in your body. So these, and then the last one there is your cells. And I referenced those a little bit. They also can use the external electricity, electrons, but they also have the mechanisms to generate their own within themselves. Next slide, please. So now we're going to get to earthing itself and what it does. I needed you to kind of have some of that basis, because why would I care about this medically? Well, there's a lot of reasons. So you'll just see a list here of what earthing can do. And they have documented this through all kinds of research studies. So this isn't just somebody saying, oh, well, I feel this way. There have been actual studies done. And in the book, there's a whole long list of the studies, and you can read about that yourself. One of the ones that I want to talk about the most today, well, the last two I really want to highlight. Every electronic device or appliance or anything in our world generates an electromagnetic field. Some of you may remember not long after cell phones came out, everybody was worried about were they going to cause cancer because they had these EMFs up next to your head all the time. Yes, they do have an EMF, They do generate that. All of the electronic devices and anything in our world does. The circuitry in our house, the wiring, they all generate EMFs. They're all at different frequencies. They're all at different levels, and they all fluctuate. So the reason we need to get back to earthing is to get us back to that potential of the earth, which is the reset, and it literally overrides all these other EMFs. And the last one is critical for us who have been through the weight loss surgery procedures and are either getting ready for that or are post-op. And that's what I'd like to talk about next. So the next slide, please. We have two types of inflammation that we deal with. There's what's called acute. That's the right one. That's called acute, which means we got a boo-boo and our body says, oh, we need to fix this. And so what you'll see is redness. You'll feel it's warm. There'll be some swelling. There'll be pain in your tissues. And all of that comes because the body said, oh, we got to do a repair job. Send out the repairmen. And those are your white blood cells. And they go and surround the area. They protect it from infection. If there's an infection starting, they will actually fight that. And then they notify other systems, hey, we need this here. We've come, we've done a diagnosis. This is what we need, send this. So they're kind of like the frontline recon guys. They go out and say, we're going to hold this down until reinforcements come. Next slide, please. And then we have what's called chronic inflammation. Now, this is what is so concerning to medicine today, even Western medicine. If you look at the graphic, you will see a list, which is not comprehensive and complete in any way, shape, or form. One of the big ones that's not on this is chronic obesity. But these all have to do with inflammatory processes. They can either cause inflammatory processes in your body, or they can be made worse by inflammatory processes in your body. But there is a direct correlation of all of these to inflammation. What happens when you get chronic inflammation is your body is on high alert all the time. And eventually it can get to the point where your white blood cells can attack healthy tissue. And some cancers, that's their generation point. Not all, but some. So it's really, really important. Now I want to share with you, as you look at this graphic, some of the things that are the causes and the contributors to this inflammation. Visceral and deep fat can be perceived as a threat. We've all been there. An elevated low density lipid level can generate increased inflammatory responses in your vessels and can restrict blood flow. Now, we talked about that earlier. That's the other thing that inflammation does in your blood vessels. Autoimmune disorders include asthma, hay fever, eczema, psoriasis, allergic reactions, lupus, multiple sclerosis, food allergies and sensitivities, and more. That's all involved with inflammatory processes. If you have long-term exposure to irritants such as refined sugars, tobacco products, or alcohol, you can increase inflammation, which then negatively impacts all this other stuff. Increased exposure to environmental irritants and pollutants also works on your inflammatory processes. And here's one that's key for all of us as weight loss surgery patients. Protein calorie malabsorption and deficiency can result in immunodeficiency, which is tied to inflammation. Most often, this kind of inflammation is not visible. It's only detected by C-reactive protein or erythrocyte sedimentation rate testing, and that's not in your normal comprehensive blood work. So normally they have to think something's wrong before they'll ask for those. But if you feel like you've got inflammation going on, talk with your healthcare provider. So again, medicine has documented this huge spike in these inflammatory processes to be at about the same time that we started developing and implementing synthetic soled shoes, getting away from leather soled shoes. Next slide. Thank you. So what's the benefit to us?
Did you say next slide?
Yes, please.
Okay.
The benefits to us. If you've had surgery, it will speed your healing and your recovery. It helps to reduce pain and inflammation. That is highly documented. We all need that as we're healing. For those of you that are preparing for surgery, this is the stuff that needs to happen so your body can be its most healthy before surgery. It's the best prep you could do. I mean, everything is important that you're told to do, but dealing with these factors is just incredible prep for surgery. Sleep. How many times have people talked to you about sleep? It's why I use this graphic. Sleep is when your body repairs itself. If you're not sleeping well or long enough, your body can't repair. So doing this earthing helps to regulate those circadian rhythms and allow you to sleep better. The comorbidities I talked about, metabolic syndrome, diabetes, all of those, they have done studies to show that earthing actually, it positively impacts all of those at significant levels. Cortisol levels and other stress hormone levels can be normalized or reduced. And it helps tremendously with mental health, with emotional and mental health. Next slide, please.
Kathy, hey, Kathy.
Yeah.
Stop sharing for just a second. I'm just going to check and see if there's any comments or anything. Is that okay?
Yeah, I'm not seeing any on my end. There might be some on Facebook.
Okay, I've been kind of watching there. I don't see anything there yet. No, I don't.
So I'm going to just share a quick story. It just happened to me last weekend. So my husband and I got to go and take care of the two youngest grandsons. The older will be 3 next month and the younger 16 months, and the dog, while mom and dad had a little weekend away. So we got there at 4 o'clock on Thursday, and I got home Monday morning at 2 o'clock. Now, I've been experimenting with earthing myself. My earthing of choice is outside. We're going to talk about how to do this in just a second. But there's also ways you can do it inside. And so I've been, and I'll show you those in a second. If you want to go to this next slide, I can do that right now. And there's some products you can use inside that help you to get grounded. Well, I didn't have my grounding pads with me, and they don't have a garden, and they don't have a very big yard. So yeah, the next one, we'll show you the products and how to do this. So I just went cold turkey, no earthing, from Thursday at 4 o'clock until Monday morning at 2 o'clock. By Friday evening, now, like I said, I've experienced many of these comorbidities, one of which was type 2 diabetes. And I don't have a real neuropathy problem with my feet, but I'm aware that there has been some neuropathy damage there. But I don't have a problem with that. By Friday night, I was having discomfort in my feet. By Friday night, I noticed it. I had a trigger finger release done in August. Everything's been great. By Friday night, I had soreness in this hand, stiffness in this hand. By Tuesday at noon, all of that was gone. And the only thing really that changed was I got back to my grounding, to my earthing. I have a pad under my desk. My feet are on it right now. I have a pad on my bed. I have a pad. My husband and I like to watch movies. And so when we watch a movie, I put my feet on a grounding pad. The top left graphic is sheets that you can put on your bed. There's the second one with the gentleman. There's patches on his arm. Those have been shown to help with specific site wound healing to exponentially increase that healing ability. The top right one is what's called a personal electrostatic discharge, or an ESD system. Those ESD systems are used for electronics all the time, and now they have developed ones for you to use for your own personal benefit instead of on a piece of electronics. Again, there's the floor mats. You can get the mats for your bed that take up a whole half of your bed. I have the ones that go under my feet. I say to you with regard to this, go outside. That's my preference. If you're going to read your paper or drink your coffee or check your email in the morning, go outside, put your feet in the dirt, in the grass, whatever. If you live on the beach, take a stroll, go for a walk, go just sit on your chair and put your feet in the edge of the water. As you do this, the more you do it, of course, it's an exponential increase. It's cumulative. I can't guarantee how quickly or if at all you are going to notice things. But again, it's a process. Some people are more sensitive to this than others, but track it carefully. I know, there's a comment. My mom always told me to walk outside on the grass with bare feet. She grew up on a farm, absolutely, and said it was so important, and they hardly got sick. Well, there's a lot of reasons why farm people don't get sick, but that is one of them. My summers were spent as a farm kid running around barefoot. I will say to you, there's something else about breathing the fresh air and listening to nature and the sounds and the animals and that is also beneficial. But having the connection to the surface is absolutely key. Brenda,
Hey,
next slide,
Kathy,
please.
before I go there real quick, I noticed that there is a question too under the Ask a Question feature.
Okay.
It says, where do I get the pad? I have nerve issues. Where could somebody get that equipment to be able to do what you just showed on the last slide?
Well, there's a disclaimer here. I have no affiliation with Amazon, but everybody can find everything on Amazon. So any of those kinds of sources you can find. If you'll just do a Google search, it'll give you places that sell these products. So I'm not promoting one over the other. Just do a Google search, but you can get them online pretty easily. And it depends on what you get.
Yeah, one other question, Kathy, here. Let me look. One other question it's actually my question, but I'm wondering, so for me, just being outside, like I go outside and take walks a lot. My feet are on the ground, but obviously I have my tennis shoes on and I'm walking, I usually am holding the leash because I usually am walking my dog. So to me, that is, even though you're not directly connected, you're still connecting with that nature.
Now, here's an interesting thing for you to think about, Brenda. Those rubber or synthetic soles aren't going to disconnect you. They're an insulator. However, your dog's feet are bare. And if that leash is a conductor, if it's a material that's a conductor, you can actually get some of the effect from your dog to you. You can pass it back and forth. If you're interested in how that works, when you go to the Earthing website, there's a movie, a full-length movie, and there's a pediatrician who talks about her daughter, her infant daughter, who just was in pain all the time. And through, as a pediatrician, trying to find answers for what was going on with her daughter, she stumbled upon it, not looking for it, but she stumbled upon it. When she'd take her outside and walk around in the backyard in her bare feet, her daughter would calm down immediately. When she'd walk back in the house on the wood floors or the tile floors, her daughter was back crying again. And it was that skin to skin connecting her to the mom connected to the earth, and then her daughter being held in her arms. Again, for some people, this is a little too far out there, and I understand that, but I'm just saying to you, think about it. If you want to go to that last slide, and then I'm just going to share.
Yeah,
a very short.
And here we go.
That next to the last slide. Yeah, that one.
Okay,
This is a quote from James L. Oshman, PhD. Walk, stand, and sit barefoot on the ground for half an hour or so. Sit with your bare feet placed directly on the earth. At the end of that time, you will feel better. You will realize that although you live on the surface of the earth, your lifestyle has separated you from the limitless healing energy that, unknown to you, the surface beneath your feet holds. It's there and always there, and yours for the taking. My favorite thing to do as a kid was to, in the summertime, get a book from the library and go lay on the grass and read my book. And I will tell you that for me now, as an adult, I still love to do that. You can go to that last slide if you want. I can feel terrible. I can get up in the morning, I can be achy, my energy can be off. I'll have to go out and water my garden. And I'll go out there in my bare feet, and I'll find myself 2 to 3 hours later out there working, feeling much better than when I woke up in the morning. I can't promise you that this will make all the difference for you, but I can say for me that I have noticed the difference. I am documenting, I am tracking, I am experimenting. I am seeing what benefits it has for me. And I would just encourage you to consider it. And thank you for your time today. I appreciate you being here.
Oh, wonderful. So Kathy, I'm going to copy and paste this into on your notes here if I'm able to. I'm going to copy and paste this into Crowdcast and into Facebook so that people have your contact information. But what I want to say too is I feel like, would you say any medical problem almost could be benefited from this? And the reason why I say that is because like anything, almost any kind of disease can cause some kind of inflammation, I believe. And when we're connected to the earth and those frequencies, and our body kind of has a reset, would it not help just about anything?
Well, and to that, Brenda, I would even say, even in medical trials, some of the people that are on placebos will have some positive outcomes just because they believe that there's something good happening to them. And for those that are not quite hooked on the science of this yet, I understand that. Again, I was a doubting Thomas for a long time. But I do know that even telling yourself, as a life and health coach, I will tell you, looking for a positive lifts things, makes things. What you look for is what you're going to find and what you'll be drawn to. And even if it's to have some peace and some calm in your heart and your mind for 30 minutes a day, that is going to impact your physical processes in a positive way. So even though you can't grab the whole earthing thing, that last picture had their cup of coffee or whatever your hot beverage of choice is, checking emails, reading a book, just listening, just having some time. I like to read my newspaper in the morning, so I just go plant my feet and read my newspaper. Who doesn't need 30 minutes?
Yeah, and I'm going to just say, to add to that, Kathy, too, I'm pasting on both Facebook and here your information.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, looks like it pasted. Give another example. So my son, his name is Devin. He's 27, and he had COVID last year, which I think a lot of people probably on these calls either has a family member or friend or themselves that has had COVID. And he has something called long hauler syndrome, which is the symptoms have continued to kind of haunt him for some time. So he's seeing a specialist. A lot of what COVID is, guys, is inflammation. And whether you're, it's something that you haven't experienced, but you've had family or friends or whatever. And that chronic inflammation can cause havoc on our blood cells. It can cause havoc on your brain, your function, on your lungs, all different kinds of things. The lining in
your lungs, absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, COVID, the reason why I bring it up is because there's likely people on this call that's been affected by that. And whether or not if you've had some long-term issues with it or not, this could be a benefit. What Kathy's saying here, the being earthing. And I just think too, a reset to our central nervous system it's not a bad thing. We're all exposed to so many things. And I just think it's so interesting too, because nobody really thinks about everything being the electromagnetic fields. Us being an electromagnetic being, what our bodies are taking in and absorbing every single moment of the day. Like the lights are on in this room that I'm here. There's a microwave across the room. There's TV sets, here and there. All of those your computer, your radio, your iTunes, your Spotify, all of those are frequencies. And, to have like a little reset where you're kind of just connecting with kind of a frequency that is very pure, I guess, can be very soothing and basically reset your system to help with all of those other things that, that could be going on in your body. So
just think about it. And if you choose to do this, give it time. It's not going to be a week, might not even be a month. Just the only outlay you would have if you choose to get the pads, that's the only financial outlay you have.
Mm-hmm.
And then just spending time with the pad. And if you put it on your bed, well, there's how many ever hours you sleep. What else are you going to do in that time? I mean, might as well do that. Just give it time and really be honest with your assessments. It might just be a little tiny bit, but that's that much more than you had before. So look for the positives and have an open mind.
And one more thing.
I put the science past my skeptic Western medicine husband. And I said, tell me this isn't true. And he goes, no, all of that's true. That's all science. There's nothing there that's incorrect. I put it past my 6th grade science teacher daughter yesterday. I said, is anything wrong here? She goes, nope, that's all science. There's nothing here that is not proven science. So take that for what it's worth.
Yeah. So Kathy, 2 things as we close. Okay.
Sure.
Number one, what is, as far as, I've listed on here your contact information, your phone number. What is the best way for people to get a hold of you, to work with you? And what kind of things do you help dive into as far as being a life coach professional?
Well, as a certified life and health coach, I can really talk to you about any issues that you want. I focus on habit change and accountability. That's where I focus. I don't do any diagnosis, no treatment, no assessment, no therapy. No, I don't do any of that. Having been involved in the medical field by virtue of my husband all these years, I understand what staying in your lane means. And I stay in my lane, and none of those are my lane. So I talk about habit change and accountability. And we can do any part of your life, but specifically working with chronic obesity and weight loss surgery patients, we talk about what you need to, if that's where you feel like you need the emphasis in your life, we talk about those. For weight loss surgery patients, the new things that people are asking you to do. Quick disclaimer. So I had my surgery in February of 2019. We moved back to Nebraska in August. In October, it's fall. I had just been living in Florida for 5 years. The weather started to change. I said, oh, I need to go to the store. I don't have any long pants and I don't have any full shoes. All I have is sandals. I had not been able to shop in a store for clothing for decades. And do you think my mind would let me go to the store and buy some pants and some shoes? It would not. I found all kinds of reasons to be too busy to go to the store because my brain said, you can't buy clothes in the store. And I had to figure out how to get past that. And I had to tell people, I had to recognize that's what was happening. And I had to tell people, I can't make myself go to the store. And they'd laugh at me and I'd say, I know, weirdest thing, right? But you have to, that's what I talk about with people, even down to that minute little tiny thing. We'll talk about those things and we'll work through them. And I will help you figure those things out and identify them and how to live with them. And that's the kind of work I love to do and help people with. And it's not easy. I'll just tell you, it's not easy, but it's so rewarding.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate everything that you're sharing here. And I would love to hear if the people that are on the call have ever heard of this before or have anything that they'd like to add to this on either Facebook or Crowdcast. In the meantime, while we're waiting for additional comments to come in, I want to thank our sponsor, ProCare, too. And I just want to say, too, with ProCare, we've been kind of doing a little problem solution kind of thing, just to kind of help if somebody has questions about things, to kind of focus on one little thing per call. So I'm going to do that real quickly here before we get off. And I am going to just show a little slide. It says, I've noticed my B1 levels are low. Does ProCare have a B1 supplement to add alongside my regimen? And so the answer to that is yes, we do have a B1 supplement that has thiamine with calcium and phosphorus in it as well. And I think one of the most serious conditions post-bariatric surgery can be a low B1 vitamin level. It does happen. I know when I worked as a bariatric coordinator in the weight loss program, we had a patient who had a B1 deficiency, and she was in the hospital for almost a week before they figured it out. It was all neurological. Like she was almost having symptoms similar to either a stroke or some kind of brain malfunction. So if you do find yourself having, the only way to really know that is to have your vitamin labs tested and do them. I would recommend as your program directs you to do that. Most of the time you have it done preoperatively as a baseline, and then post-op. Some programs do them as frequently as, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, depends on your program, but usually at least annually after that first year. Anything you want to say about that, Kathy?
Your primary care will question you if you ever ask them to do a B1, they'll say, you mean B12? And you say, no, B1. And they say, well, why do you want B1? I say, because as a weight loss surgery patient, I am at very high risk for B1, and I do not want to get Wernicke's. I just went through that at the beginning of this year. So that, huge. It's very, very important.
Yeah. And you bring up a good point. If you are following up with your primary care doctor, which actually I do right now because my insurance doesn't really cover me seeing specialists. So it's a little more costly for me to see my bariatric surgeon. So what I do is I see my primary care. But what I did is I talked to my bariatric surgery office, got the list of the vitamins. I have them saved on my phone. And I actually email them or send them while I'm there in the office. And I said, this is what I want to have done. And then whenever I get to the lab, I make sure they're doing the right test. Because there's so many, there's about maybe 12 different ones my doctor's office recommends. So just be aware of doing all that. But
sometimes when they're doing those labs, you feel like you're actually donating blood, but it's important.
Yeah. It 100% is. Well, Kathy, thank you so much for your time today. I'll be following up with you here within the next few days. I just want to thank you so much for everything and for your graciousness. I hope I get to see you in person again someday. And thank you for being part of our ProCare community, because I know, and also Berry Nation community, because I know you're on there as well. She's a Berry Nation member. So guys, connect with her on Berry Nation as well. So thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity. And make it a great day, everybody.
Yeah. Have a great day. Thank you, Kathy. Everybody take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.